next one.
kitty,
My number
kitty.
5
No,
is
Cubby,
Toy Story
Cubby.
2.
Ugh.
Now this
I mean,
is
not ugh.
this is my favorite Toy
Back to
Story
Toy
movie.
Story. It is mine too, but Toy Story is still not that high on my list. The whole freaking franchise, not that high.
And I like Toy Story 3, but it's nowhere near as good as Toy Story 1. And Toy Story 2 is just a masterpiece in my eyes. It is an excellent movie.
Toy Story
I love the
3
themes,
just
I
makes
love the
me grab my
characters,
teddy
I
bear
love
and
the
hug it to
jokes.
death.
I love how it adds this complexion to Woody that I'll tell you what, it really hit me when I recently went on this trip to California, because like I had that kind of Woody moment where it's just like, okay, I'm not gonna always be stuck at home, but I wouldn't miss it for the world. Like I'd love to just go back home and like be with those memories, and like that's the same revelation that Woody went through. But it's just like, I can't be with Andy forever, but I wouldn't miss it for the world to see him grow up, and like that,
Yeah,
like
I will give him that.
really related to me. I really liked
I love Bullseye.
Bullseye, Jesse, the prospector. I liked how there was like
I didn't
more to the
Jesse.
characters in
She's
general,
kind
because
of annoying.
the first one, as good as it was very much the Woody movie of trying to hawk. And like,
Yeah.
even though this one had a subplot of Woody and like how important he is and like being,
Yes.
there was still more to the other characters. There was more to Buzz. There was more
Yeah,
to
but the other
Slinky
Buzz
and Rex.
was a little too much.
It's weird, like going back how they like play that joke of like Space Ranger in
it's
all
Star Wars.
3 movies.
It's a parody of Star Wars.
In a way, no, I'm talking about like
In
how.
the second one, it's a parody of Star Wars.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, the second one's like a flat-out parody of Star Wars.
Yeah. Which I thought was unneeded, a little too much.
Fair enough.
That's why it's a little lower on my list.
I also like Stinky Pete's motive. Like, he basically explains, like, it's fair, I'll tell you what's not fair. Spending a lifetime on a dime store shelf. Like, he didn't do this all to be malicious from the get-go.
No.
This was a last-minute desperate turn to be like, I will be the villain if I have to. Because from the get-go, he's just like, oh my gosh, if we all get together, I get to be a museum and cherished finally. Works for me. And then when Woody, like, wants to go back, he's like,
Yeah.
oh no, no. I didn't wait this long. Like, Jesse has a mental breakdown where it's just like, I don't want to be put back in the
He
box.
does.
And Pete kind of like puts the blame on her, like, oh yeah, it's taking a toll on her. Because he realized that
Yeah.
if he'd act out, Woody wouldn't care. But Jesse, if Jesse acts out, he's like, okay. So he kind of plays off that. So like that's where he starts like going down that villainous road, and he takes it to the extreme when Woody like flat out decides to leave and go with Buzz and them. So yeah, overall, I'd say it had like a better message, better characters, better focus, better jokes. It was just like Toy Story, but better, and it didn't just focus on Woody, even though he did share
One
a
of the
portion of the
sequels
plot.
that is actually better.
Yeah, one of the sequels that actually improves on the original.
We may or may not talk about sequels at some point in time.
And moving on to your number 4, Tangled. Tangled is my favorite movie of pretty much the past 10 years.
Yep. Tangled is my favorite recent Disney movie.
It was the last one that I really thoroughly enjoyed, so I guess that basically says that you ain't gonna see Moana or Frozen in the top 3, or Wreck-It Ralph.
You ain't gonna see Frozen in my top 20.
Yeah, we're Team Tangled. So what is it about
Yep.
Tangled that like we're so drawn to, despite like everything? Like maybe I think the weakest part is the songs. Like I like When Will My Life Begin and Mother Knows Best, and I think that's it. What?
At last I see the light?
Yeah, that one's good too, but
I was gonna say.
kind of falls to the wayside.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a dream is funny or fun or whatever.
I like both of our
but-
lead characters, which is very rare when it comes to like the princess movies. It's usually I like the princess, not too big on the prince, or I like the prince, not too big
Yeah.
on the princess.
Yeah, they have yet
Or
to really get that strong.
In the case of
I like them both since
in the case of Aladdin, where it's like they're both cool. I like both of them.
Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, but for the longest time,
Tangled has like the strongest
they
leading duo.
comparison.
And I like how their sidekicks like don't talk. They're not like those annoying like
Yeah, I know.
like
They don't.
Olaf's, and like
they don't
Olaf's more
talk, but
tame
they're
than I
still
thought he'd be, but I
so-
still don't like him that much.
There's like so much emotions in their facial expressions.
Pascal is great,
Oh, I love
Maximus is
Pascal.
hilarious, and like they don't say a line of dialogue, they just make noises.
Why is he looking at me like that?
Be like that.
Just.
I feel like Mother Gothel was like the last really good Disney villain we got. Like, I'm trying to think of like a single other one that's been good since then, and nothing comes to mind. So
No,
yeah,
I'm gonna go with her.
yeah. Mother Gothel was like the last classic Disney villain that really
Definitely.
works. She's so entertaining to watch, and I just love her cape. Whoosh.
And she brought back the whole dramatic Disney deaths.
Yeah,
I think they've been lacking on that for a while, and they kind of brought it back with Mother Gothel.
yeah,
Falls out the window and keeps aging until she's nothing but ash.
yeah. That one's good.
Yes.
I just like the setting. Really, it's such a beautiful setting. It looks vibrant.
It's relatable. It's
Spring.
funny, beautiful.
Well, it's
to
interesting
look
because
at it.
the first teaser and even like the poster of them like peering through the hair, like it felt very DreamWorks-ish, and I'm like, is this
Yeah.
Disney trying to be DreamWorks? But then I finally saw the last movie, and I was just like, nah, it has that comedy edge that's like a little more common in DreamWorks, but it still has that heart and focus on a story that Disney excels at. So I
It's
think
definitely
it's
relatable and funny. I like the romance.
overall like the best movie Disney's done in a while.
Yes.
I glance at the television show every once in a while, but it hasn't like really captured
I've
my
seen
attention.
clips
But
and like trailers.
I would definitely like an actual sequel
I
to
would
Tangled.
I would
Like
see
I enjoyed
it.
the short Tangled Ever After.
Yes,
with
I
Maximus
did.
and Pascal.
I
was good
loved
too.
that. I loved that so much. I wish that Tangled was more popular and had more attention than stupid Frozen.
Yeah, well, that's the world we live in. Moving on to your number
Yeah.
3 is Aladdin. Hello, Aladdin. Welcome to the show.
Aw.
All right, so Aladdin made
I
the
miss
top
him.
3, but not number 1. Can you explain this?
Easy. When I get to my number 2 and my number 1, you'll understand why Aladdin is 3. It's a great movie, but 2 and 1 greatly surpass it, in my opinion.
All right, well, what would you say made it to at least the top 5?
Well, I don't want to put it solely on the genie, but come on. Genie.
Yeah, the genie's great.
But it's also sort of the same thing with Tangled. That is one of the relationships that I liked both.
Mhm.
Wasn't a one character I liked more than the other. I liked them both. I like the villain. I like the secondary characters.
Hmm.
I like the carpet. I like Abu. I like Iago.
Yeah.
Bird. I like Raja. I even like the Sultan, though really he's just a giant child. But he's fun. I like the message.
All right.
I love the songs.
Yeah.
You know, they're either fun or they're catchy or they're a whole new world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a great song.
Mhm.
That song.
So, just in conclusion, what would you say about it?
Well, I would definitely say if you haven't seen Aladdin, what's wrong with you?
Right.
Watch it. And, you know, as much as we all love the genie, we all loved Robin Williams, there's so much more to Aladdin than just the genie. Don't get all caught up in his bits and his hilarity. There's much more to the movie.
Right. Okay, moving on to my number 3 is The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Right on.
This has been a movie that like is
Herbert,
just
dude.
the bizarre for me. It's just like people are like, really that high? I'm like, yeah, it is
Yeah, me too.
a bold movie in every stretch of the
Really?
imagination, and I
Uh-huh.
think the gargoyles are necessary from just making a reminder that oh yeah, this is a kids Disney film. It just tones things back a little, and I think it would have been fine with the gargoyles if they would have stuck with they're all in his head until that last battle where they're actually fighting off the guards. Then you can no longer make that argument.
I didn't know that argument.
A lot of people hate the gargoyles, but they said it would be fine if like they stuck with the first one.
If, like, he
and
was
Ken
imagining them
yeah, if he
coming
was
to life.
imagining, yeah, if they were just his imaginary
Ah.
friends, and like it makes sense because he's in that bell tower for the first like half of the movie. He gotta talk to somebody, not just
True.
Frollo. Frollo just stops by every once in a while.
Ugh,
So he's got to talk to somebody, otherwise he's just literally talking to himself. So the Gargoyles was a way for him to interact and talk to himself, but not really with
True,
himself,
but
with these 3
when
characters.
you think about it,
Okay.
the idea of gargoyles is they come alive to ward off evil.
Yeah,
Frollo was the villain. He was evil.
yeah.
Every time he was messing around with Quasimodo's head, he would leave and they would come to life.
That is true.
They were trying to protect him from evil. That's their job. That's why they come to life. Sole purpose right there.
The choir in this movie gives me goosebumps. My
Oh, the
God,
chills,
no other
the
soundtrack
shivers.
hits me as hard as this movie's soundtrack. Like the choir alone, like when those notes hit, I'm just like, holy crap. When Clopin hits that note at the end of Bells of Notre Dame, I'm like, holy crap. Is that a woman?
He's fun.
The characters are just enjoyable to watch.
Fun.
It takes dark turns. It's a love story where the hero doesn't get the girl, and that's okay because he gets something better about self-work. But it works. It's like
Yes,
very
it
relatable. It
does.
makes you realize that friendzone is not like a very bitter thing that the internet likes to tout it around as. It shows the
True.
perks and benefits of like just being in the friend zone. Okay,
Some
you're in the
of
friend zone. Be a good friend.
You're in the front
And then
zone,
wait
be
for a
good
shitty
friend,
sequel when you get
accept
a
your-
relationship
Hey,
shoehorned onto you.
We may talk about sequels in another video, not this one.
It has a great villain, a very complex character that's just like
It has a dark,
such a
perverted
bastard
villain.
with a wonderful demise. Absolutely wonderful.
Yes, the gargoyle came alive and took him straight to hell.
Every single actor
Point
is
of
like doing
gargoyles.
perfectly, from Demi Moore to Tony Jay. It's just like, wow, they're like really hitting all the high notes. The only thing I can say is like the next two movies like are a lot more grand, and I don't get weird looks when I say these next two movies are like for a while I'd always say like Hunchback is my favorite. People are like, you might want to double check that. I don't see as many flaws as most. Like the biggest flaw I see is just like when they come alive and they do that and it gets a little slapsticky at the end. But other than that, I'd
Yes.
still say like it's a very entertaining, grand movie. Ambitious, the music is flawless. I love the main character, I love the villain. I just can't sing it enough praises. Hunchback is a great movie for me. Moving on to number 2, and we both share this, so we can just go right to it. The Lion King.
The Lion King.
Now this was another movie that was my number 1 for a while, but between my number 2, I'd really go back and forth, and like I'll tell you why number 2, my number 1 went out when I get to that. But for
Right.
The Lion King, this was the movie that we pretty much watched verbatim almost on a yearly basis.
Yes, we
We
did.
could quote it, we knew all the characters, we
were
knew all the
raised on
songs.
this movie.
Our father would
We
lift us
knew
up during
our
the
dad
circle of
lifted
life.
us up during the circle of life, all of it. Lion King was our movie.
Scar was a great villain. Hans Zimmer's instrumentals were powerful. Mufasa's death really hit me hard as a kid, but when he has his self-doubts and he's confronted with his ghost, that hits me more as an adult.
Oh my
And then
goodness,
when Rafiki's
remember who you are.
like, oh yes, the past
All
can
that
hurt, but the
friggin'
way I see
Disney
it, you can either
chills.
run from it or learn from it. Like, that's
About
all
the
great.
best advice a Disney movie's gonna give you. You don't realize it when you're a kid, but when you get older, that is the best advice that Disney has given us. That and keep moving forward.
Mm.
But that's like Walt Disney's quote himself.
It does have a very good
Turned
lesson.
into a very good movie.
And animation is beautiful. The opening is like
It is
biblical. It's like powerful with that when that sun rises up and those notes hit and you're
It
just like,
is.
damn. Whew. I'd say Hunchback has the better soundtrack, but like just under it is The Lion King, no question. Like that one is just powerful.
And for me, it is Shakespeare.
Yeah, it's basically Hamlet
I
with
am
lions.
a huge Shakespeare fan. It is Hamlet with lions.
Like
it
that
is
didn't bother me
Shakespeare.
too much. What did bother me a little
The
bit
sequel is
was
Romeo and Juliet.
discovering
I love
Kimba.
old Shakespeare. Yeah.
Discovering Kimba did detract from this a little bit
Yeah.
because it made me realize that
Yeah.
people who worked on Kimba sneakily went to Disney and worked on The Lion King. As someone who like really respects artists and original ideas, and I give perks for that, I gotta give credit when credit is due. And when Disney's trying to sneak that just because you're Disney doesn't really give you the right to do that.
I know. Sad
So like
thing is,
that did hit a notch off of
if I
Lion King
give
for me.
credit to Shakespeare for the story, and I give credit to them for like the animation, characters, and everything, there's actually not much to The Lion King that is very original. So I usually don't give much credit. I just say, you know, it's Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare, so that works for me.
I think the only other complaint, and it's like a very minor one, is that Scar's just not as interesting in the second half. Like he complains a lot. A lot.
Hyenas are more interesting than him.
Yeah. I like him in the final fight and I like his demise, but like as a ruler, and I get that he's supposed to be kind of like shitty, but his whole like funny, sarcastic demeanor is gone because he's no longer
Yes.
second banana. So it's kind of
See, I'm okay with that because he's just like the uncle
Yeah.
who becomes king in Hamlet.
Yeah, he's just lousy at it.
Yeah.
So here we
he's
go.
a lousy
Number
king.
1 for you is Beauty and the Beast. My number 10, your number 1. So it definitely hit you a lot harder than me.
It did.
All right, pour it out. What is it about Beauty and the Beast that makes it like the best of the best?
There's the music. There is the animation.
Mm-hmm.
There is the idea. Granted, it's an old plot, tale as old as time.
Yeah.
Just redone, but Disney does that all the time.
Yeah.
So
That's Disney in a nutshell.
that's Disney in a nutshell. It is the love story. It is the memorable characters, whether they're the ones you love or the ones you don't like. It is the whole package.
Mm-hmm.
So it is my number 1.
Okay.
Because it is the whole package. I wanted to be Belle. I wanted to find a beast.
All right. Then we'll just conclude with my number 1, which is Aladdin. And basically, to jump off what you said with Aladdin, I would say that this is the movie with every single character I love. From Aladdin to Jasmine to Razul, the captain of the guards. Like, a lot of Disney movies, even when I like them, they have a character that I just do not like.
Yes.
Like Pain and Panic, or Olaf.
Yes, yes.
Or, like, what's another one? Turk.
Turk.
Like, she doesn't annoy me as much, but she is enough to, like,
Glee.
make me... Aladdin doesn't have a single one. And a lot of people like to say that Genie makes the movie, and he adds to the movie, but I feel that people forget that in the first movie, he supports the plot, whereas in the 2 sequels, they forget what made the Genie so special, and they're just, like, making him ad-lib for the sake of ad-libbing.
Yeah.
And like both. Even when they get Robin Williams back, he's just like doing ad-libs for the sake of ad-libs. But
By that
in the
point,
first
it's
movie, it
gone.
establishes all the jokes establish like the rules. They establish who he is, his kind of personality, his relationship with his masters of the past compared to Aladdin now. Like even when he's like, oh yeah, whoop, and calling him a liar, and he does that. Like it
Yeah.
all supports his character and it adds to growth. The songs are great. The finale is epic. Like for the longest time, I was like, oh man, what's cooler? Maleficent as a dragon or Jafar as a snake? And I got to give it to Jafar as a snake just because
Last longer?
not only does it last longer, but it goes with the rest of the movie. Whereas Sleeping Beauty, for the most part, I'm like anticipating that battle with the dragon. As short as it is, that's the peak of the movie for me. For Aladdin, there's never a dull moment. I just enjoy it from start to finish.
Yeah.
The Cave of Wonders is just amazing to watch. The Carpet, again, another character with no dialogue that's hilarious, endearing, like tugs at your heartstrings. It's great. Like all the annoying, like is to the Genie, and because it's Robin Williams, it's never comes off as annoying. He's welcoming the whole time.
Because it doesn't like overlap anything else, and he's not funny the whole time. Because he does have that moment where he's like being controlled by Jafar. And
Yeah.
it's like, I have no choice but to do this. And you can see the pain that they animated into his face, where it's like,
Yeah.
I was really starting to become friends with Aladdin. I don't want to do this, but I have to. I have no choice.
And Aladdin in general, I love flawed main characters. Perfect main characters make me vomit.
Yep.
The ones that are just like, they have no flaws whatsoever. And that's been a huge thing that I'm going to touch in a future video on the problem with a lot of strong, independent female characters that I'd like to touch on. But for now, I just want to say that Aladdin is a liar, and he kind of like
Ladies, you're
Gets
allowed
on
to be
with his-
flawed.
gets on with his lies too much, and they kind of go in over his head.
Yep.
And he has to confront that and make up for it. It doesn't help that the following sequels is based on him being a liar. So it's like, hey, technically didn't learn his lesson.
Doesn't, but I do like the one with his father.
But in the first movie, I think it's good enough to show the growth and like how he should accept who he is. And it's funny because it's just like, if he just was himself, she'd be all over him. But because he's totally being someone who's not, she's like, who the f is this guy? I miss the other kid.
Yeah, that is funny. It's like she was told he was beheaded. If he would have just showed up as himself, she would have been like, screw your rules.
Yeah.
I'm done with this palace. I'm running away with
Yeah,
him.
I'm running away with him. She would have escaped with him. The Sultan is a bumbling fool, but a lovable bumbling fool. Jafar is just so
Giant Chow.
entertaining the whole way through, unlike Scar, who just has those little dips. I feel like
I
Jafar
would
is
have
just
to say
excellent the
Iago
whole way.
is a little more annoying than the genie.
He
his
worked because he
comedic
plays off
bits,
Jafar so well.
But yeah, he did.
It's the way he plays off Jafar that makes Iago just not annoying
Yeah,
enough.
it was like when Iago went off on his own for just like a brief part of the movie, he was annoying.
It wasn't nearly long enough.
No, it wasn't that long
Unlike
to really
Return
make
of
me
Jafar, which is the
dislike
Iago movie, and I'm like, well, that's a horrible
Blah.
idea.
That's a horrible idea.
He's given the most annoying character out of the cast, basically his own plot. Whatever.
They've done that before.
Oh yeah, they have.
They're doing it again, Olaf.
Yep. But, okay, that is our top 10 favorite Disney movies. If you like this and want to see our bottom 10, leave a comment and let us know, and we will follow this up with the bottom 10.
Frozen.
Actually, no.
Brave.
Oh, maybe. We'll see. All right, y'all have a good day, and leave a comment and let us know what your 10 favorite movies are. Have a good one.